everyone, and welcome to All That Talk Show, where we strive to educate, empower, and entertain. I am your co-host, Olivia. I'm Callie.
And I'm Shang.
I'm Chu. And I'm Meng. And Chu and I, we are the hosts of the Two Hmong Boys podcast, where we share our raw opinions on Hmong issues and current events in a lighthearted manner. Especially since we don't have enough men voices out there.
Okay. Wait on. To talk on this topic with us on why men and women cheat. But before we do that, here at All That Talk, we obviously want to start it off with acts of kindness. And so this is a little segment on our show where we share an act of kindness that we either participated in or that we've seen. So do any of you want to start off first? Callie, maybe you can start.
Yeah, I can certainly start. I just want to say, this is a totally shady topic, which is why we all have the shades on.
Yeah.
Just from all of the stuff going out there. So that's why we have these shades on. So for the act of kindness, this week I spent a little time talking to somebody who had expressed some of the things that was going on in their life. And so there's a lot going on that I needed to get done, but I just felt impressed to give this person some time to.
Kelly, we can't hear you. Can you talk a little louder?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. What I was saying was that I spent some time this week instead of just doing some of the other things I needed to get done, so that I can talk to this particular person. They were going through some stuff in their life. And so it was just nice to be able to connect. And that's one of my favorite things I like doing is being able to share other people's stories and just to listen.
So I will go next. My act of kindness this week was donating fabric to a neighbor who sewed masks for essential workers. And so that's what I did.
That's awesome, Shane.
I know. I think it's I really think it's awesome because I don't know how you're still here with this story. Sometimes if you can't do all the things, providing the resources is what you can do.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
Thank you.
So mine is very similar to Callie's. I think for this episode, kind of did a call to action almost for people who have been a cheater or have been cheated on, and people have been reaching out to share their stories with us, acknowledging to a listener to them and their journey and acknowledging that is really important as well. And so, along with Kelly, my act of kindness has been really listening to people who speak their stories.
Okay, I'm sorry, Olivia. I didn't hear anything you said.
Okay. Hold on.
Sorry, guys. We're having a little technical issues. We thought we'd try mics out, so bear with us as we try to get this going. No, we can't. Maybe just do without the mics. That might be better. You guys are doing without the mics. Okay, we still can't hear you. Nothing at all. I can't hear you at all anymore. Do you guys want to try logging on and off? Maybe we might have to restart the show just because you're the moderator. Meng and Chu, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you perfect.
You can. Okay, so it's just those two. So we're not tech savvy, so it's going to be a while, guys, so just bear with us. Meng and Chu, do you guys have any plans for Memorial Weekend with this pandemic?
Not really.
Nope, it's raining here, so there's not much to do outside there. So we probably stuck in the house.
Did you have any plans?
You know, I totally forgot about Memorial Weekend, which is so bad, right? With this COVID-19, I didn't even realize that it was Memorial Weekend. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we can.
Perfect.
That's weird.
Okay. All right. So that was fun.
Sorry, guys. There's some technical difficulties for sure. But I do want to hear our co-host guest, their act of kindness. So if y'all want to go, and then we can jump into the topic.
Sure. I'll go first. So today I got some takeout, and my act of kindness was I gave them a tip.
Nice.
That's all.
Okay. So my sister and her family visited last night, and we're pretty close. So like when they're over, it's like my house is their house is my house. They kind of run through it. It's not like they're a guest or anything. But my sister was cooking, and I was like, I should probably do the cooking for her. So I asked her if she wanted me to cook, and I fired up the grill, and then it gave her like 2 minutes of freedom in between her 4 boys nagging at her. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, you're so sweet, Ming.
I know. So something Chu and I like to do on our show before we record an episode is to Ja'ipana. So why don't we Ja'ipa to everyone's great acts of kindness?
Yes, we're down.
Okay.
Okay. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's good. All right, Shane, start us off.
All right, so today's topic is about cheating. Just wanted to let everyone know that we did do a call to action to see if we could get any cheaters to come on this show with us. So Meng and Chu are not cheaters. Just wanted to clarify that with everyone, and that cheating is wrong. And so before we dive into this topic, we want to share with everyone the definition, what it means to cheat. And so the definition is that cheating can be defined as being emotionally or sexually unfaithful to your partner who you are in a close relationship with. Having intimate physical or emotional contact with another person is typically considered cheating. And just wanted to clarify that this is just a broad definition, that every couple varies, the definition of cheating varies. And so we don't want you guys to be arguing or fighting over our definition of cheating.
Yeah, I definitely think it differs from couple to couple. So what one couple might consider is cheating, another couple might come back and say, well, in our arrangement, in our partnership arrangement, we're okay with certain things. And so just to be clear, for the basis of our conversation, we have to kind of define that, but that will look different for every couple. Yeah.
So May, do you want to start us off and share some of your data about why men cheat?
Yeah, so Chu and I, we've got an episode coming out on cheating in particular. We're going to go deep dive into what men do. And as part of that, we reached out to a couple of guys to kind of share with us why they're cheating, what they did. And we also put out a poll to gather feedback on at what point men consider something to be cheating. And the results were pretty striking for me. At least 75% of men said flirting with someone or just talking to the phone on them was cheating. So the key there is that nothing physical has happened, yet 75% of respondents have said that is a form of cheating. And then that's surprising. And then the other 30% said you had to go on a date with them, like you had to actually act out a little bit more like in person with them or kiss them. But I think the most surprising data point was that nobody said it had to get to sex essentially for something to be cheating. And I find that interesting because I think a lot of times, when you hear people who cheat, and I think it's, maybe it's rationalization from men, but they rationalize, well, I didn't do this with them, right? Like, oh, I may have done this part with which may have been talking and flirting, which, according to what men consider cheating, that's cheating. Yet they rationalize it, well, but I didn't do this part of it. So I thought the data was pretty interesting.
So when you're telling us this data that men think flirting is cheating, does that apply to themselves? Because men do a lot of flirting with other women.
Wait,
Yeah.
who are you talking about though? Like, I feel like the majority of men feel this way. They do agree that cheating is wrong. Don't you think like cheaters are a minority versus a majority though?
Yeah,
I would have to disagree with you that it is a minority. Statistics show that unfortunately cheating is actually considered a norm now, which is pretty sad.
I think my take on that, Sheng, would be, yes, they may consider it cheating, but I think, I've thought through this a little bit. It's like there's probably a spectrum to what they consider acceptable, and from cheating to not cheating, right? In terms of flirting, is probably unfaithful, but it's, in their rationalization, it's not as harmful as if I went out with somebody. So that maybe is how they cope with understanding it is something that's cheating, yet at the same point enable themselves to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I also think it goes back to like what Callie had mentioned earlier too about what do people consider cheating. It may be different for you versus me, right? So I mean, the data that's being collected, is that truly accurate data, or is it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to make that decision whether we agree or disagree. I think answering Linda's question or on how often you hear people say flirting isn't cheating. What's your guys' opinion? Now I know you guys had just said that 75% of the men who had answer to your survey said that is cheating, and I would have to agree. I think that when you talk about internet flirting, messaging people back and forth, the intention is there. And I think Callie and I had talked about this, where it's like the intention is that you intend to respond back, to actually like hit on women. That's cheating to us, at least from a woman's perspective,
and like pursue something like more.
Right.
But I do want to bring in something. When you get into a relationship with a person,
Right.
and if you're used to that person being, a little bit more outgoing or a little bit more smiling or just naturally like more flirtatious,
right?
Like, do you have a different standard for that versus someone who maybe is more quiet, and then all of a sudden you start seeing them talking to the other
like
right? Because I mean, right? Like if you, I would say I'm pretty outgoing, and I smile a lot and laugh a lot, and so but that to me is not flirting, right? And so I think that's the thing that
yes,
this girl. Okay.
Yes.
Right. And so I guess it differs person by person, because you can't just automatically assume that just because someone's talking to a lot of people doesn't necessarily mean that they feel, and it goes back to that intention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to intention, you might just have somebody who's naturally like a people pleaser, or something that's just really interactive people. You just said, Callie, right? Like where a guy could really have no intention, but he's coming, him buying her a drink, maybe it's just what he does cordially as he meets people, right? And there's no intention to have anything beyond that, but then to just kind of chit chat. So it really does come down to the person and the intentions, and you can't tell that.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some reasons why men cheat in the first place?
And you want to get into this?
Why men would cheat, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys agree? Like I'm still interested in what you guys may think. At which point women consider it cheating. So we talked about men at like about maybe 75% think it's non-physical and 25% physical. Are women a little bit more skewed towards 100%? Like, I'm curious to see where that sits for women, or what you guys think that sits for women.
It's pretty open for me. I think because for me, there's certain things that I do that I don't consider cheating, just because it goes back to intention, right? And so I think just like my whole life, like networking is a big thing. And so that for me is never cheating, just because I don't have those intentions. And so I think I offer my partner a pretty big leash on what that means. Now, I think if it starts to get really funny, like things start to feel not the same, then I think that's where, my alerts go up. But I would say I don't like to be a jealous person. I don't want to automatically assume that someone's going to cheat.
Right.
So I would say I'm pretty, open on that. Yeah.
I think it just goes back
I
to.
think
Go ahead.
I think it'll go back to more of the context of if we ask this question to women, when do you think they would respond as an action that what they're doing is cheating? You know, would they, rather than their perception of when men are cheating, but rather what women say, this is when I believe I'm cheating.
I mean, I think it's along the same lines as what your data states. I think anytime you start flirting, right? I think to me that would be considered cheating. Anytime you're flirting of any sort, it could be through text messaging, it could be in person, it could be any type of flirting. I think that to me, because again, it goes back to that intention. You're already there.
So I would say it's sex, but if you're flirting continuously with the same person, I think that's when I'm like, okay, that's my line. Now if you're just flirting with everybody, go ahead. But I think if you are always flirting with the same person, then something is too much.
Where I tend to draw the line of cheating is when you start to hide things from me, right? Because if you are open about what's happening, whether it's in the workforce, with your friends, if you're networking, then you have nothing to hide. But when you start hiding things, hiding a text message that you have with a girl, and that to me tells me that there's something there that you've started to develop feelings for that person.
Okay. So I want to play this back so it answers the question I asked. When women start flirting continuously with one person, that can be seen as cheating. When women are hiding text conversations from men, that would get into the realm of cheating.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think for me personally, it doesn't even matter if you're flirting with the same person. I think if you're just flirting in general.
So a woman who's flirting,
a
woman who's flirting may be in the cheating realm. Yes.
Yeah. But I do agree with Linda, or one of our followers and audience who's tuning in right now, that sometimes being friendly can be mistaken for being flirtatious as well. Yes. And I do agree. I think sometimes I have been mistaken for that, but I think just kind of going back to like my intention, right? Like I'm not intending to cheat, but because we're friendly and we're
in the community,
right? And we're really like out there kind of networking, people tend to think or mistaken that for cheating sometimes. And so I think just being true to who you are and what your intentions are. But I think the minute you start flirting, I think to me personally, that's considered cheating already.
Does that answer your question?
Well, it does. Thank you.
All right.
So do you want to share with us some reasons why men cheat?
Yeah. So we talked to some people.
Hey, can I just totally interrupt and say that we have an audience member who says, "Why the sunglasses, bro? We want to see them big, beautiful brown eyes."
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's
flirty. I got my colored contacts in. My colored contacts are going to be blue. But now we're getting to the serious stuff, so we'll take them off.
Now we're getting to serious. Only take it off if that guy promises to not fall in love with me, though.
Okay. Let's see what he answers to that.
Yeah, and maybe before I go through the reasons, I do want to just address, like I just asked, like who decides the intention? My personal is that person. Because if I'm talking to someone and I'm just kind of being friendly, my partner may be insecure about that, and that's where we just need to communicate to say, there's no intentions behind there, but the line is the person who's doing that, because they know the line that crosses between flirting and not flirting for themselves. So onto the reasons. We talked to a couple of guys that cheated, and we got a handful of kind of reasons back that we put into a few themes. So we want to hit on the first theme, and then we want to hear what you guys have first before we give you all of the goodies. One of the first themes that we heard is basically just to have fun, right? And so some guys, just don't really want to be in a monogamous kind of relationship. They're always wanting to look for better women, want to chase, want to have multiple partners. Again, not to validate that this is a legitimate reason for cheating. Like as Shing said at the beginning, all cheating is wrong, but these are reasons that we're hearing from men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and some could say that cheating is just in men's nature. It could be biology. Like that's just how we are. Also, like sometimes we can't help it, But since it's biology for us, like for women, it's a choice.
And I'll illustrate a little bit more of that means. And again, this is not the reason, but just to understand the psychology behind it. Not a psychology major, but if you think through, monogamy is a relatively new kind of social invention. If you think through just kind of the history of mankind and everything, and if you kind of relay that back to, this is going to get really crude, but like the animal kingdom, right? If you think about that, like because women bear children, they have to be very intentional in the partners they invest in, because there is a dire consequence that comes with that if they don't. Whereas men, without that necessity to have that much of an investment in a partner, do have more of an innate nature to be able to kind of just spread your seed, if you want to call it that. Not saying again that is right, but like I think there is some play of that and why men have this feeling of not being able to be in monogamous relationships.
Can we re-emphasize that we don't condone cheating, though?
Yeah. It's not like we're trying to make an excuse for men to just say like, well, men just can't help it, right? I mean, I think with the world we live in, the relationships we have are more than just letting your human and behavioral natures take over, right? There's a social aspect that comes into play.
So
But Chu, why don't you?
So if men just want to have fun, then I suppose why even get married? Yeah.
Right. So what I'd say to those men is that you should not be then in a monogamous relationship where you can't uphold your end of the agreement that you guys have.
Mm-hmm. And maybe because in our culture, it's been, like if you are in, have like relations like that with a person, then you're supposed to get married. And so I think I do find that there are more and more single people who stay single longer and don't get married. And so I honestly, I applaud that, because I'd rather have that than have people get into a relationship and then cheat. Right.
Yeah. So like we have this, one of the guys said this. Chu, do you want to read what one of the guys said to us?
Yeah, let me pull up quick. So we got a quote from a guy. So what he said was, having an affair is a thrill that gives a man a shot to taste something different, especially if the marriage has defaulted to the dead fish routine.
Oof.
So I think that plays to like just like right like that, like I can't control this desire to just want to be with multiple different people and something new, something interesting.
And would you say that happens after kids?
I think that could be irrespective of whether there's kids or not. I mean, the way I hear that is that at some point that relationship has gone stale for that person, whether it's quick into a relationship after kids or not.
And do you agree that it takes two to make a relationship work?
Absolutely.
That's so we'll go a little bit, right?
We shouldn't have to restate that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so.
Yeah, so we'll go into that later. So the way Chu and I frame this is like these are just the guys who just want to have fun, right? You think about that, whether it's a relationship good or not, they're just like, I could be in a good relationship, but you know what? I still just want to have fun, and fun means multiple partners. So that's the context of this. And so we didn't spend a lot of time here because it's kind of like you can't really do much about this. If a guy is just wired this way, they're just wired that way.
That's true. I mean, I hate to say it, but once a cheater, always a cheater.
I don't agree with that.
People can change.
Yeah, I don't agree with that statement either.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree that I don't agree.
So for you ladies, what is the reason that women cheat, or do you think this having fun aspect also spills into why some women cheat?
Well, women tend to cheat once they have made up their mind. And so it's not like men where they have, they're just presented with the opportunity, so they're going to cheat. Women tend to take a really long time to make up their decision. And then once they make up their mind, then that's when they cheat. And it's typically the result of being unhappy for a really long time, being with a partner who has cheated for a long time, or just having a partner that's not emotionally involved, and so they want something. So that's a reason why women cheat.
No, I think like when it comes to like the fun factor, I think if you are in a relationship with maybe the first partner that you have ever slept with, And then you start, like, as you grow older, right? Because in the Hmong culture, like, women don't really enjoy sex. That's not really the intention of having sex, for women to enjoy it. And so I
Maybe
think
for the
that,
older generation.
yeah, but like like even for our generation, right? Like we were raised, groomed up, thinking a certain way, and I'm speaking on my behalf. And so now, like, as you get older, as you like learn and realize, hey, like there's this other aspect of sex I've never been exposed to, and if your partner is not fulfilling that need, you might feel like, okay, like maybe it's time to, try something different. And if you keep trying with this person and for some reason they don't think you're fun anymore or whatever, and somebody else gives you that attention, then I think that that's the factor that might trigger that, of wanting something fun.
Yeah, I think what you said about like if it's your first time, you're not really experienced, you're looking for something new, and that's when fun comes in. I think that leads into kind of what we were thinking on our second kind of theme per se, if you want, is like I think men cheat for a fun factor, and there's also an ego factor that comes
Yes.
with cheating.
Mhm.
And quite simply put, a lot of men, right or wrong, measure your sense of manliness with the number of people that you have been with, right? And a lot of times this is a social influence. And the ego is constructed over social influences of what men are being told they need to do. And being a sex god is like the epitome of being a man sometimes, is that's the message.
Yeah, and like most men that are inexperienced, like they tend to romanticize sex. But once they actually have sex, then it becomes something different. It's something like it boosts their ego and it boosts their want. Like they want to have more sex, more opportunities. So that changes them.
Yeah. So I think the danger of that is like men that kind of like get into committed relationships early and then are with one partner. Once they start to explore and experience that, then they kind of have this like dilemma then of wanting to look beyond that. So I mean, to all the ladies out there, if you're with the first time partner, I would be like, it's not like they're going to cheat, but it is kind of like a thought to even to think about or to think of how you think about that. Because we had someone write in that said, I was a late bloomer, missed out on a lot of opportunities. So when I found out I was good looking and able to talk to women, I just went after every girl. Right. And so it was just kind of like once I figured it out, I was a late bloomer, so I didn't experience a lot of that growing up. And then once I figured it out, then it just was like off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. Well, I've been with my husband for like 20 years, and I think you just kind of have to be open to grow and learn together, right? I think that's kind of like what keeps a relationship going. But I think another thing that we have to talk about too when you talk about cheating is like that communication piece. Because I think a lot of relationship you miss that because I don't know if maybe it's because men tend to maybe not be more emotional. They don't speak about their feelings as much because it's not the norm to do that. But I know that communication is really important, and so when you are with someone that you've been with forever, I've been with you for like 20 years. We're going on 20 years. It's really important to keep that line of communication open, and you both have to be willing to try new things and just really be adventurous. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I think that plays. Yeah, so it's true, right? True. As we thought about cheating for fun, and ego, we're kind of like those ones are probably like no reasons valid, but very low on the valid scale of like I have like that I could even empathize for guys like that why they cheat, right? I think as you talk through the communication, that plays into probably the biggest one that we think through because I think we there was this speech that Dr. Pinkford Rhodes gave about maybe a couple of years ago that talked through like studies have been done and they said like 5% of men cheat because of a better looking woman. So we took that to be like they're cheating for fun because they want something, they want to upgrade, they want something better. But 40% of men cheat because they're unhappy in a relationship or a relationship isn't fulfilling their needs. And so I think your communication piece comes into this. And I think Chu's got some thoughts on like why would men be unhappy in relationships?
Well, yeah, like if it's like the emotional aspect of it, the first one is pretty much sex. Like it's either it's lacking or it's not fulfilling like their desires.
Mhm.
And to clarify,
a monogamous relationship. This isn't like
yeah. So to clarify, this is sex within a monogamous relationship.
Mhm.
Not the guy just has sexual desires that he wants to have with one person that are not being fulfilled instead of having sexual desires with multiple people. And going back to what Callie, you said earlier in terms of like maybe women or the older generation, they're not taught to enjoy sex, and sex is something taboo to talk about. So therefore, it's hard to have a communication with your partner on what your sexual desires are, and for them to listen and be understanding of that.
Mhm.
Because I mean, we had one guy. So we had one guy write in. Okay. I love my wife a lot, all that stuff, but I cheated for sexual connection because I didn't feel like I could be fully able to do what it is I wanted to do with my wife, because I respect her too much and I know she wouldn't do more. Sexual release or connection with somebody was just how it was, a frustration and stress.
Man,
I don't know how I feel about these thoughts.
I'm curious about that because so the things that I hear when you say that is he respects his wife too much to do these things with her. He wants to do these things that he considers is with someone else. That's how I'm reading that.
Yeah.
You had a little bit of thought on this for me.
Well, like, yeah, I had a little bit of thought. Like, it's just like the psychology, like, of men. Like, the way I thought of it is like, well, I'm not saying I can relate or anything. I'm just, putting myself in his shoe, right? So, like, for example, like, our wives, like, we tend to put them on a pedestal. Like, we want to see them in this light where they're perfect, and they're the mother of our children. Like, if you have some freaky sexual desires, right, and after you do that, you can't look at that person the same anymore. So
我的苦脸令的是梦.
So I guess
I just don't get it.
Okay, so I guess as a message to the other ladies, right? The mistress is to note that probably isn't love if he is doing all sorts of crazy stuff with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Right? Like it's not really necessarily because he's connecting with you and he with you. It's really just because he has these desires to do these things.
And again, I see like excuses and stuff in the comments, and I absolutely agree. Again, we don't condone any of these reasons, right? So any reason to cheat is inherently an excuse, because you should not cheat in the first place. So any reason, right or wrong, for any woman is inherently an excuse. So I think we all get that. But this is just letting you guys understand what men are saying, such that, like, hey, if you want to prevent cheating, right? Like, if you understand the reasons why men are cheating and women are cheating, you understand how you need to go after preventing it. And if you think this is a specific example, like, I think if you get to the point of maybe this person should have approached his wife, right, about like, these are my sexual desires, can you meet them or not? And if she cannot meet them, then he has to decide for himself how important those sexual desires are, and how satisfied or dissatisfied he's going to be in that relationship without it. So can he still love her and live that relationship without it, or is it too important that he needs it? And then at that point, he shouldn't cheat. That should be a relationship that they just go their own ways.
Right.
Definitely.
Because if it makes that big of a difference in your life, whether your partner does those things or not, then it's probably best for you to not be in that relationship. Because I think the one or the husband who continuously fight me and like ask her, and I think for me, I would be super annoyed. I wouldn't want that either. So.
Yeah.
And Meg, that you do bring up a good point about everybody has needs, right? And it's your job to fulfill your own needs, make sure that you're happy. Nobody else can make you happy. So if you've done that part where you've communicated with your partner about what your wants and your needs are, and they're unwilling to reciprocate, then it's up to you to make that decision instead of resorting to cheating just to break off that relationship before you go ahead and do the actual act of cheating.
Yeah, and like listeners understand, like, sex is a real need for men, right? So it's a real, and I'm not, I would never judge what people's needs are because everyone's different, right? But like, if you think sex is not a real need, it's replace sex with emotional support, replace sex with something else from a woman's standpoint, right? Like, women have needs, or men can say, well, those are silly needs because we don't have those needs either, right? And so it's more about understanding where people's needs are. But sex is clearly a very important need for men.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important for women too.
Yeah.
When done right.
Yeah.
So do you guys think? So yeah. So talk to me a little bit more about like sexual, dissatisfaction for women, and like, because we gave you guys examples of men, right? Like when women aren't willing to do certain things, be curious if this is a reason for why women cheat, because their husbands or their male partners are not pleasing them sexually. What does that look like, or what may that look like?
Do you want to take this? Well, I think, because women don't climax in the same way that men do, right? And so I think if you have never like had an orgasm, and then you have one, it's a very like enlightening moment of like, wow, this is actually like what the D feels like every single time. And so I think once you recognize that, and then you realize that if your partner isn't fulfilling that part where they're just like, they do it, they orgasm, and then they're like rolling over and sleeping. And so there is still this like, once you know that feeling, like it's hard to just be like, okay, like night after night, just to like let them be satisfied. And so I think that, but until you even know what that feels like, I think that is hard to like understand.
And I also want to address Jane Lee's comment on there where it says, well, if a woman wants a bigger D, is it okay for her to cheat? No excuses for cheaters, men or women. Surprisingly, when Kelly and I did this social media, would you call it study? It's not a study. It's like a social media thing where we posted on different groups on why men or women cheat. And when it came to the men, a lot of the responses were explanations, storytelling of why they would do it. A lot of like, well, same reasons of women, which could be accurate in some cases. And then when you look at like the women, a lot of them said that exact same thing that you mentioned, Jane Lee, because they want something bigger. Now, I don't know, and a lot of these comments are coming from men. It's not even coming from women, which then makes me question the lack of confidence that men have in themselves, maybe, or the insecurities that they have of themselves to even like think about things like that. Because I think for women, I can only speak for myself, but yes, size does matter, I think. But I also think it's how the emotional attachment that you have and with the person that you're doing it with, and also the foreplay that goes into it, right?
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, okay, so there's a difference between sex and making love, right? And
Right.
so like being a great lover, like doesn't necessarily mean you have to have like a big
Whatever.
penis. Like people can have a big penis and be a horrible lover.
Yeah.
And so
Agreed.
it is like a whole experience. And if somebody brings it, and I mean, when I say bring it, right, that means like all aspects of it, like you said,
Right.
foreplay, and everything else, that is not necessarily true. But like I think a part of it is that sometimes people automatically assume that if someone goes and cheats somebody outside the race, it sometimes is more of the emotional aspect and the way that person makes you feel. Because I am going to say that sometimes Ming is not the best lover, right? Because they are not trying to like,
they're not as emotionally
lovey-dovey and try to make you feel special and try to make you feel loved. And so those might be the components that add to that relationship, and it's not always the bigger penis.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of other.
And I'd say,
complex.
I mean, my thought to that is like, it kind of it plays back into understanding the needs of your partner and trying to do something about it, right? Because me and Mo are not great lovers. Well, we're not raised to be very affectionate. We're not raised to support women in that way, right? And so, the same way, women aren't. We're not going to make this blanket statement. I'm just using an example. Women aren't great in bed because they're not raised, they're not taught to explore and talk about that, right? And so until you have that conversation and have a true conversation about it, if you have the conversation and they don't change, then it's the same thing. The woman's got to decide how important that emotional and that love is to her.
Yeah. And I think too, we had a couple of people who wrote in very similar stories. I think a lot of it is the like not feeling appreciated, not feeling like your husband values you and your opinion. Because I think as Hmong women, we are taught to like to like talk, to serve, to put your man husband first. You know, we've listened to stories, we've listened to speeches of like other Hmong women telling other Hmong women these types of things. And I think for me, you know, like you can only they for a certain amount of time. You can only serve your husband without him like acknowledging that for a certain amount of time before you do get tired of it. And then when you start noticing other men who value then of course I think sometimes you choose that cheap, but I think that emotional creep just creeps up on you and you find yourself all of a sudden falling for other men.
Yeah,
But like, I feel like,
I think into like disrespect. I think like men's like the other side of that for men or shende for Panya is disrespect for men.
And then for us, I mean, like Olivia and Kelly has said, that emotional piece is really important to women, right? We connect with men through the sexual intimacy. We want that emotional support from men. And when we're not getting it, then that sometimes leads to cheating because you're in the workforce and some other man is paying attention to you. They're flirting with you. They're giving you praises like, oh, you're so beautiful. I can't believe that your husband doesn't appreciate you. And that can lead to cheating.
Huh? I haven't had that.
And you know, women like that. I mean, they like being praised.
Well,
it's funny.
Yeah, so I'll tell the same story back from a male's perspective. I think like 40% of like affairs like happen like in the workplace. There's some like it's really high stat.
Yes.
But why don't you share like how that broods men?
Well, yeah, no, like it's funny that you say that because that's exactly I feel like how men feel as well. Because it's in regards to respect. Like for example, like at the workplace, outside of like the home, like people praise you, they respect you. You know, like they're like, oh, you're so cool, you're so great. You know, but then when you come back home, you know what you're getting is, you know, your wife is focusing on all your negative attributes, you know, versus your positive ones. So that also plays a part for men as well, not just women.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like the thought process of cheating, like I said, like the first ones that people just want to play and it's the ego thing, like those are the ones where you're like, okay, I don't know what you can do about this. But for this group here, this portion that go for emotional reasons, you know, whether it's disrespect, lack of sex, or something breaking the relationship, it's a process too, because it's like you're exposed to that environment home, you're in an environment at work over time where your coworker might be female and this is praising you and to you, you know, she's doing great things to you. And the thought of cheating never crosses your mind, but eventually it's just over time that emotional connection to her builds. And I think that's, you know, when men cheat for emotional reasons, I think that's the process. Instead of one day they're just like, my wife is not fulfilling this need, I'm going to go find this woman out there that can fit it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah. Cheating is such a it's a hard thing because I think everybody experiences everything so differently that you can't really like categorize one situation and or compare it to the other because it's so different. But I do think that the like I agree with you. I think the respect, it goes both ways. But respect for men may look very different than it does for women. Right? I mean, and I want you to talk a little bit about that too, about respect for men. What does that look like, right? Because I think in the Hmong culture, right? Like cater to them. We listened to this one speech of this woman talking about how, like, you know, when your husband helps you with your kids, you should thank them. Like, oh, like, why do I have to say thank you? Like, those are your kids, those are your chores too. Like, I should never have to like praise you for doing that type of thing when it comes to like partnership, but maybe other people don't see it that way. That's just me. I just think that when it comes to like them going above and beyond for you, then yes, you should praise them. But when it comes to like I should never have to say like just, you know, bow down like, oh my God, like it's gonna rain today because you did that.
Wait, but when you say that, like when women do that, right? Even one of the issues that that a lot of men and women have is they feel unappreciated because the man doesn't say thank you. And also, it doesn't work both ways. Like when you say that,
but I feel
like
so I feel like sometimes in the culture, because we are expected expected to be that way,
Yeah.
there's less appreciation, right? Like
Yeah.
when you do something for your brother-in-laws and your in-laws, it's not they're gonna be like, "What like,
Right,
oh,
right.
well,
And I
mommy,
never
no."
show all.
But so we automatically, right? There's these expectations already, and
Yeah.
that for us is like that's the minimum,
Mhm.
And so, like so it's of course it's hard for us to show that kind of appreciation to someone else too. If these are our expectations already, and they're high expectations. These aren't like low expectations.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think because the culture already expects us to
Yeah.
do all these things, and so it's hard to reciprocate that into names.
Well, and I think too, like to answer your question too, I think it's a partnership, and no one should be expected to do something more than the other. And so I guess that's just kind of like where I'm coming from, right? Like if they're going above and beyond to do something outside of like you yeah, absolutely praise them. That's awesome. But when it comes to just things like that, I don't feel like as a wife I need to continue to do that to make you feel so like, oh man, that, you know what I mean?
I disagree with that because I think, because of love languages, right? Like if your man only feels loved when you say appreciative words and you're out there doing dishes for him, doing things, he's gonna be like, I don't care about those things. I care about your words of appreciation. So I disagree with that, because I think inherently you have to understand where your partner feels and resonates love, and give it. So for example, if we use women, right? Women are like, I need emotional support. But as a dude, it's like, well, why do I need to give that to you? I'm buying you gifts all the time. She's gonna feel like she's not being loved in that relationship. And if a guy, going back to Chu's point, if he's taught that like how women like show me love is to do things for me, and then he builds up those values over time. Those are his values. That is how he sees love. And if a woman is not reciprocating that, he is not going to feel loved because she's not hitting on the right things.
Yeah, but I also feel like if it's in the relationship, because to me, this is how I see it. It's a partnership. So I, as a woman, should not be expected to do idea all the time. Okay, right? And he, as a man, should not to do a chore all the time. But then it's like, so what I'm saying is that, so then when all of a sudden learns what idea or like but it's not anything to qua. It's a partnership. It's a relationship that we need to work together already on. But when it comes to like where order you and it's special, then yeah, absolutely, praise away. When it comes to just raising your kids, you shouldn't have to.
Well, what I'm hearing,
let me ask you this.
Go ahead, Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Did you praise him when you guys were dating, when he did things like that?
No, because we haven't.
No. I know, but what I'm saying is, what happens a lot of times is like when you're courting, you're still like not married yet, right? Like women are, like, they know how to, like girlfriends know how to express love, and girlfriends are pretty good at expressing love. But the second you get married, they become a wife. All of a sudden, the way in which they express love just changes. And us as men, we don't want you guys to change after we get married. But I feel like on the flip side, women are always like, well, when we get married, I'm going to change these things about this guy. Like we want you to continue saying those nice, sweet words to us as we back then. So like, why is it the second you get married that those things no longer become, women think that those things no longer become necessary, as if like now that I'm your wife, you shouldn't need any of those things anymore.
I mean, likewise.
Well, I think
we don't want. Wait, hold on. We don't want either, but then you go on and not buy us flowers, not buy gifts, and not do all those things.
I think it comes back to that communication, right? Because I think when I heard that speech, I really disagreed with what that person was saying. Because I think for me, like when my husband and I, before we even had kids, he was never the type to like get idea by myself or let me cook by myself. He never did any of that, right? He always was right there with me. It was always a partnership. So this is my perspective. So to me, because we've always been like that, I'm not going to sit here and praise him while he's washing dishes because it's a partnership, right? So to me, when someone else says that, I haven't lived that to where I'm going to praise my husband for every little thing that he does. I just disagree with it. So I'm just sharing my perspective on that, right?
And I would say you probably don't have to, because it works for you guys, because your husband's probably not waiting for you to praise him for doing those things. But that's where, like, I don't think it's a blanket statement to make broadly that women shouldn't do that because their husband might need that. That might have.
Yeah, very true. It could be for some men and women. Maybe they do need that.
Well, like I hear a lot about like what from you guys, I hear a lot about like women expectations. Like, you guys understand women like what's expected of women in the Hmong culture, but do you guys understand what's expected of Hmong men in the Hmong culture? Have you guys taken the time to understand them and understand what their expectations are and how you guys can help them along the way? Like, that's what I was curious
And
about.
that's not to say that men have it harder than women, right? Like it's not about who has bigger obligations, expectations, because that conversation doesn't help anything, but it's to like understand what your partner is going through and the obligations of them and how do you best support them through that.
Well, I think in the Hmong culture, I think Hmong only quite queen and all like oh could you say to vào Hmong. But when I tell them, would you say to Hmong? Because it's so hard, like all these expectations of, you know, being a Hmong daughter-in-law or a Hmong son-in-law. But honestly, it's really not that hard. It's truly based. It is because you can say like yeah, so come away to Hmong na, whether come away to Hmong, Mika, me, do, achilo, whatever. It's still a role. You're still a daughter-in-law. Same thing with you being a son-in-law, right? The only thing that changes is whether you're traditional or non-traditional. For at least the Hmong people that I think, right? And so yes, I think it is a little bit more complex because sometimes they get put in the middle. Sometimes they are expected to do certain things and then it makes it hard. So it puts them in a very difficult situation. I understand that. But I also think that because right? I think again, everything evolves back to communication for me. I think you have to really be communicative with your partner about things that are important to you. So, for example, you have to understand that if it's someone that's close to you, like immediate family, you do want to go and support because Hmong people are they're all about like kind of thing, right? It's about helping each other out. They always say things like, oh, so it's kind of going back to understanding that framework, and having that communication with your spouse about how important that is to him. And if it is important, you do need to like toughen it up and show up and be supportive. But they are put in a very complex situation for sure. I mean, it is a struggle because I think sometimes they don't care about that kind of stuff. They care about them. So it makes it very difficult for him to make that decision. So I get it.
Yeah. And I agree with you. It all comes back to communication because like these reasons we're talking about why people cheating aren't inherently the breakdowns. Like cheating is a final act of a breakdown of communications, right? And I think like all these reasons are there either was communication and then a lack of desire to fulfill that, or that most cases there's not enough communication of what is important and doing something about it.
Yeah.
I think Shane has something to say, but I can't hear her.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Yeah. So I know some of these comments are really good because it doesn't really relate to our subject of like why Hmong women cheat. So I'm not going to address it, but it makes me want to go there. But I'm not. It's a whole different.
We definitely went off on a tangent.
We'll address that then. But you know, I think the last question that we had that we want to kind of talk about a little bit, unless you guys want to dive into a little bit more or have any more questions on why Hmong women cheat.
So recap for me real quick. Give me, if you're like, hey, generally post, what are the top three? Is it 100% emotional? Like that is, if you focus on emotional, like is it for emotional reasons? Is it for sex?
I think for me, I mean, Callie, chime in if I'm wrong. It might be a little different for you. So our screen's a little off right now. There we go. But I think it's more, I think respect is a huge thing. Respect, emotional needs. I don't know if sex is really, I think that may be the minority of reasons why people would cheat or women would cheat. I think more than anything, it's really feeling valued as ituponia. So emotional and respect, I think, are my number two reasons why I think women would cheat for sure. I don't know if you guys want to add on a third one, but I think for me, those are my two.
Right. I would agree with that. Like, I think that we do grow attached to people, you know, and with that, there comes like a respect that we would not, you know, do something like that, you know, cheating on a person. And so I totally agree that it's not really, I mean, that's not to say there's probably other people that maybe do feel that way. Like if they have a partner that, you know, can't perform, or they have a partner that isn't willing to perform, I think that might come up. And if they are surrounded by gorgeous men at work, then that is tempting. But I would say I agree that those are probably the two biggest reasons.
So men, if you don't want women to cheat, support them emotionally is a takeaway.
Right. And be respectful. I think just respecting their opinions, their like making sure that they feel like they have a voice. Because I think I don't know about men outside of the Hmong culture, but I know that at least for me, it makes me feel valued when my voice matters. You know, in decision making where it impacts me, that I need to make sure I have a voice and that people are taking what I say into consideration. Things like that, you know.
Yeah,
and I also want to add that if men don't want women to cheat, that they should speak their love language. Can you guys hear me?
You guys talking to me? Callie, you go ahead.
I think she lost us.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah,
we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what I was gonna say, so go.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me
recap
clearly?
That for men, kind of what Long said here: encourage and praise me, and I'll do anything for you. I think I think that goes back to respect. And I'll add one more thing: and give me sex, and I'll do anything for you. Right, Long?
I think the sex thing too, though, right? Because men, like you guys had said before, people do it for fun. So when you say "give me sex," like, what do you mean? Do you mean
right?
Like,
because
like fulfill my sexual desires. Fulfill my sexual desires because not because if you put sex on like what is the top values for men and women, right? That's going to be in a man's top 3 value. I guarantee you. Like that may not like the top 3 need. That's probably going to drop down to the middle 3 to 6 for women. And so it comes back to encourage me. Like I need respect as a top need, right? I need sex as a top need and something else, right? So that's what I mean by that is you can't ignore the impact of that.
So I know that we keep talking about respect. So I do want to ask the question of what does respect for Hmong men look like? What do you mean?
That's funny because we just did an episode on that last week.
So tune into that episode if y'all want to know what their perspectives are.
Right, but maybe you
do a high level.
Yeah, we can go over the highlights.
Yeah.
So like for example, like this is speaking from a Hmong's perspective.
Sure.
Well, like for in our culture, like we, for example, we want to have mojimua in public.
Mm-hmm.
So like we want to have face in public. So when we're out in public, we don't want our women talking down to us or embarrassing us in public. Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the other factors is like 这海路, like meaning like for example, like if we're gonna talk about an issue, a problem we have, let's speak cordially, instead of yelling at each other, because they're like, you like of course you're gonna just bitch right back, so it doesn't solve anything.
And I want to interject before Chu goes on.
Oh yeah.
By saying how we feel respect is not to say we don't need to show that to women, right? So too many times it's like, well, I don't want to hear how you talk about respect because I don't think men give it to me. Like that's not the point. It's like you want to know what that means to us. We're just telling you what that means to us. And obviously, it has to go both ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it's important for women to understand when Hmong men say respect, what do they mean? Because I was thinking before, it's very different for men versus women, right? So I just want to make sure that we give an opportunity for you guys to share from a men's perspective. What does that actually even look like, right? Because if men cheat for respect or is on their top 3, then as women we need to understand exactly what that is. So okay, so
Chu said not embarrassing them. Yeah. So hi Lou, not embarrassing them. So go ahead, Chu. Next one.
Well, the other thing is like understanding our psychology, like our expectations, like I was saying earlier. For example, like what is expected of us in the community. Like what we feel like, well, maybe, I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself now, so I don't want to generalize so that it's not mistaken. But for example, like as a Hmong man or son, right, there's more expected of us. Like our parents, they put more pressure on us to do good, to go to college, to support them, because we're eventually going to become a leader in our community or our clan. So that's a lot of pressure. But then, like, if we think about it, and for a daughter, like the mentality or the culture is like, oh, you know, like someone else's daughter, yeah. So like they don't, when daughters like mess up, you know, like it's not as the parents aren't as hard on them. But if like we can understand men's psychology, then maybe we can have a better understanding of each other. I mean, what's the other one? I can't think right now.
Understanding, Hailuzhong. Oh, and the other one that we hear a lot from men is really keep like it plays in the verse like keeping problems in house. Don't open up your set of problems to people, because it's very because we're naturally a little bit more you don't talk a lot about our feelings, right? And that kind of goes into like, and we do care about reputations because we have egos, and you know, as you talk about things, generally what I find is that it's one-sided when things come out in that way. It's very one-sided. And their side of the story only, and so it kind of gets out there, and it kind of paints a guy in a picture that he doesn't like to be painted in, and not to say like maybe that is him, but the right way to go about it is to not blast him out and just make him look like a devil to the world, right? If your husband is not a great person, the right way to deal with it, like from a man's perspective, is let's deal with it in house and how we can fix this problem.
Yeah. So don't blast your husbands on Facebook, pretty much.
Unless they don't. For the fifth time. Just kidding.
No, I can agree to that. I think being a Hmong man is very difficult. So I think it's just really important for us to hear their perception of like what does that even mean. So I mean, I hear you. I hear similar reasons, and so I can agree to the data that you guys have collected on what Hmong men see as respect. So I appreciate that for sure. Okay.
Well, I think that this is such a big topic that it's hard to cover everything, and we've had a lot of great comments and comments that kind of go a little bit off tangent, but still things are relevant, because I think cheating itself is this act of passion. You know, I think it's easy to dissect a cheating situation and say you should have done this or done that, but I think when in the heat of the moment, right, that's why it's called crime of passion, because it completely like makes you lose your mind and you don't really think about it. And so I think it was just really great to be able to hear y'all's perspective and to explore this topic a little bit more, although there is so much to be talked about and to explore and to really get deep into. Any last thoughts?
We don't. No, I just heard that there was going to be some fun at the end of this.
I think we ran out of time, so Kalia.
Oh, that's right.
I heard some promises. I heard some promises were being made.
Yeah, lang go name princess promise speak the audience name, so we gotta show up.
Yeah, what I heard is that muy tu Wisconsin. Show no, it's no behind.
This is the only time you're gonna ever hear us go full blown Hmong, right? And Callie's gonna be the one to do it. So y'all wanna go first? Go first.
No. Ladies first.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Introducing the one and only Callie Yang. Hit it.
我帮你啊，你宁愿跟我个咕噜噜，我一宁点我一切我一下嘛咋做给个今年了咕嗨只宁梦英中里呢。
Okay.
All right. Originally, oh my God, dude. I'm so glad you went first because I was so nervous, but now I feel more comfortable.
You should have threw your shades back on.
So just so you know, this is the Bahu I wrote is based off our theme, so it's not anything. Don't take offense.
Of course.
All right.
We'll try not to.
All right, Ming. I need a beat, Ming. Give me a beat.
All right, one second. All right. Hey, 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 hey.
Sao mày nói thế giờ ba火，有害错都要半年。我理解到了肚子，这天比了都得的，莫了就只不了波，放个多头天我得得了这木可了肚，只有露露能贴波，弄了火贴到人的，我比别路这老早。做过莫了有知道，到家老被马西考，我学好路被知道，莫一路个么，莫一路个人有跑。跑了，爸，你要看你。
What's wrong?
Okay, all right.
Oh my gosh, dude,
That was right. We're gonna be like Waverly and just go back.
I know. This is where I Jimmy Claus, you know.
Oh my gosh, dude, I'm too embarrassed, dude.
You did so good. That was
Nice work.
But,
Yeah. Well, thanks, ladies, for having us on. It was fun.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, and thanks for helping us to just really be open and honest about this. And part of our show is to have conversations and hoping that those conversations do drive change. And I think that this was a great start to having that conversation about what cheating means in our community. Yes.
And
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
Thank you.
tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.